Hey YouTube, I'm just hanging out with my daughter today. It's her nap time, so I'm hoping while I'm doing this video she will just kind of drift off. I just wanted to address one of the comments that I recently had from a YouTube user. It was about my diagnosis, and so I just wanted to just give a little more clarity into that as to how I became diagnosed and how I felt once that happened and things of that nature. So, first of all, I got my diagnosis after my mom's stroke. So that was in 2011, and I believe it was probably about a year after that I just couldn't handle the depression and the symptoms and the mania, and just everything was just way too much for me to handle on a daily basis. I felt like I really needed help, and up until that point in my life I had always kind of refused medications, or I would try them for a couple of weeks and then stop them completely and never go back to the doctor. So I got the diagnosis when I hit this like rock bottom with my feelings, and I decided that I would go to a local hospital, and I basically just told them how I was feeling, completely overwhelmed, and I really needed to talk to somebody. So I got checked into the mental health ward for just under 24 hours, I guess, but it felt like eternity. The minute that you go into the mental health ward, it's like a locked ward, so you enter in and you know you're not getting out, which completely messes with your head. And then they make you wait in this like little room that has 2 chairs and a little table, and that's it, and the door is locked from the outside, so you can't get out, and it just, like, I'm a little mildly claustrophobic, so that probably added to it. But it just made me even more insanely irrational while I was there. I just wanted out. I just wanted out of that room. So after waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting, I finally got to talk to a psychologist. And we sat down for a long time. He asked me a lot of questions about my family history, how I was feeling growing up, and just a lot of getting into personal questions. And I was pretty open and honest with him because I was at a point where I was ready to get help. So I basically told him everything, and I'm pretty sure he started me on Seroquel. And I think I started out with 50 milligrams, and it did a little bit for me at first, but I ended up having to keep increasing the dose probably every couple of months. But that psychologist was the one who diagnosed me, and after I got the diagnosis, it honestly didn't surprise me. I knew that my biological father had some form of bipolar, and I knew that my brother had bipolar too. So it made complete sense to me after we talked about it. It was like all the pieces of my life suddenly fit together and everything made sense. So I was started on the Seroquel, and I was taking that for a long time until I got pregnant with this little bugger right here. And I talked to my doctor about if the Seroquel was safe to take while I was pregnant, and I did a little research myself, and I found out that there had really been no studies into if it was safe during pregnancy. So I really didn't want to be the guinea pig in that situation to find out if it was going to cause some serious birth defect or something to my child. So I felt like I had enough support systems in place at that point that I could go off of my medication and just deal with the episodes as they came. And it actually went pretty well. I mean, it's hard for me to tell the difference between pregnancy hormone craziness and bipolar episodes, but I feel like I handled it very well. My husband was extremely supportive through the whole process, which was really helpful. But before my diagnosis, I kind of felt lost in my life. I felt like I knew that there was something wrong, but I couldn't really put a name to it. For the longest time, I just brushed it off as depression because I would only feel sad most of the time. Sometimes I would spend days in my room crying, or days sitting at a window just staring out, lost in my thoughts. At school, I was very socially withdrawn. It was hard for me to make friends. I didn't want to talk to people because I knew I was different, and I knew if they found out that I was different, how cruel kids could be, and I didn't really want to be the subject of that. I moved around a lot, so it happened more than once at more than one school, in more than one environment, with more than one person. And it just got to the point where I was completely shut down from the world, my family. And growing up watching my brother have these bipolar episodes and having my mom have to deal with that by herself, I didn't want to add any more pressure on her. I didn't want to really tell her how I was really feeling because I was afraid maybe that I was bipolar too. I don't know. I was really young then. I know I was afraid to tell her the truth. I was afraid to tell anybody the truth. I bottled up everything my whole life. And then my mom had that stroke in 2011. I watched her go through 4 weeks of being in the hospital and them not knowing what happened, why she had a stroke. Then we found out she had a rare blood disease. And she went through 6 months at a physical therapy center. And when she came home, she was just not the same. And it killed me. And it brought out so much anger in me. And that's when I went searching finally for the diagnosis a year later, when it just got out of control. So I understand the skeptics who say that bipolar can't be, solidly tested. There's, not like a blood test that they can take and be like, yeah, you for sure have bipolar disorder. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain. Some people have a higher chemical imbalance, some people have a lower chemical imbalance, and that's why different people take different variations of medications that work for them. But diagnosis is something that helps people. It is real. Bipolar disorder, unfortunately, is real. And it kind of hurts me when people say that it doesn't exists, that it's not a mental illness, because then that means that all of the things that I've done in my life, all of the times I've lost control, freaked out, yelled at the people I've loved, that means that that's all on me. And having that diagnosis kind of means that you get to share the guilt. You know, you finally have a reasoning for why you've done the things you've done. So, until next time, be strong and know you're not alone.